Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's Redox webinar. I'm really excited to share some awesome information we have with all of you. My name is Claire Huber, and I am a business development representative at Redox. I joined the team this past May, and actually had some experience working at Epic before coming over to Redox. I'm located out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Redox's headquarters is actually based out of Madison, Wisconsin, and we have a number of satellite locations really across the US, one in Chicago, Seattle, Portland, Denver, Austin, really all over the place. You'll be able to find us. So just to set a few logistics before we get rolling, if you have any questions during this presentation, we will have some time to answer those at the end. So you can go ahead and click on the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen. We also have a button where you can go ahead and schedule a one-on-one with a member of our solutions team at Redox. So definitely feel free to schedule a one-on-one with us as well. We'd be happy to dive deeper into your specific integration needs. And finally, we've got a few polls available at the bottom of the screen as well. In those, we're really just trying to garner some more information surrounding who's joining these webinars and what role you might play at the organizations that you're from. And we're really doing that just so that we can better gauge interest for who's joining these, as well as better tailor them to suit your needs as well. So we might have a few more people drop in, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. Excuse me as I just jump on over to our presentation. All right. So at Redox, what we really want to see is integration reimagined. And we say that really because we want to strive to change the status quo for interoperability and for integration in the healthcare industry today. During this presentation, I'm going to be going over a few different things, kind of giving you an overview of Redox, what we do, who we serve, how we do it, as well as kind of an outline of our specific approach to EHR integration in the healthcare industry today. And just to start things off, I'm going to give you all a little bit of an insight into sort of what we've observed in the greater healthcare landscape and how we see ourselves fitting into it. So the framework of healthcare really exists at the intersection of patients and providers. And when healthcare is functioning at its best, that's creating an empathetic relationship between those patients and those providers. Technology can't always influence this directly, but what technology can do is influence the knowledgeable relationship between providers and patients. And that would come into play in instances where maybe the provider is recording the patient's symptoms, delivering a diagnosis, creating care plans, things like that. That's really the space where we see technology as being able to have a really big impact. So technology can absolutely support this interaction of patients and providers and lead to better healthcare and better healthcare outcomes for patients. And there's really a number of ways that this can happen. Technology can empower patients with patients having applications that they can interact with directly or by logging into their patient portals. Patients now can have greater access to their own data, and they're also able to be more engaged with their care. And what we really hope to see is having technology influence their behavior to create better outcomes over time. And on the provider level, technology really is offering huge advancements in efficiency gains. We can reduce human error, reduce waste that exists in the industry, as we've all seen, as well as hopefully free up provider time to be spent with the patient and nurturing that empathetic relationship. So it's no secret that this isn't where we've seen the industry quite yet. Oftentimes, technology is actually cited as causing inefficiencies rather than efficiencies in the industry. And Really what we've seen with the adoption of EHRs is that instead of having a provider that would have like a clipboard in front of them and would be interacting with a patient like more one-on-one, they're instead kind of moved over to this data entry activity on a computer. And when they're doing that, they're also not even facing the patient, which has really caused some pains in that patient-provider relationship. And that, coupled with the pressure that providers have to constantly be taking on more patients, has really led to a commoditized relationship between the patient and the provider, which is absolutely not what we want to see. That relationship should not be like a transactional relationship, and the patient should not have a transactional experience in our healthcare system. And of course, this has led to a lot of fear and apathy on the patient side in terms of their relationship to healthcare and relationship to the way that technology influences our healthcare. So what we really want to do at Redox is build infrastructure to make healthcare data liquid. We really want to shift the industry back to this place where technology is going to be enhancing the patient experience and making things easier for providers rather than being a hindrance to the care that we're seeing so oftentimes today. So essentially, like, what we've observed in the industry thus far is that integration has really been a huge barrier to entry for a lot of groups and a barrier to scale as well. As you can see, without Redox, all application groups are going to have to work to maintain separate point-to-point connections with every health system that they want to connect to. And this has really led to like what we refer to sometimes as the bottleneck problem, where traditional integration strategies have stifled innovation in the industry and prevented health systems from really like maximizing their return and reaping the benefits of investment in their technologies. What Redox really consists of a network that utilizes a shared platform. So as you can see, Redox maintains a single connection to each application and to each health system that it's connected to. So every time we go and we integrate with a new group, that new group essentially becomes another node on our network, and we're still going to be maintaining that single connection from that group to our engine. And to kind of give you an overview of Redox's offering, it can kind of be broken down into two main areas, one being our technology and the other our managed services. So we're really offering to you a state-of-the-art engine with APIs ready completely out of the box. And in addition to that, we're essentially wrapping that technology with our managed services. And with those, what we're doing with our team is providing you with things like integration strategy diagrams, things like that, helping you with project management, doing data mappings, proactive monitoring, and issue resolution as well. So our engine and our team are really coming together to provide you with a universal healthcare integration solution. And on this slide in the background, you can kind of see a subset of some of the groups that we've had the opportunity to work with in the past. On the left, you can see some of the healthcare organizations. On the right, you can see some of the application vendors we've worked with as well. To date, we are live and installing with 250 different healthcare organizations coast to coast across the US. And we're powering integrations across 550 different application vendors. And if you ever go and visit our gallery on our website, you'll be able to see sort of an expanded subset of some of these groups that we've worked with. So the framework of our API is based on our 18 different canonical data models. And these data models really follow all of the most common workflows you might run into across the continuum of care space. And so what's really amazing about Redox is that you really only need to have your development team code to our data models and our standards once in JSON, and that will be just that one singular time for no matter how many sites you're looking to integrate with, no matter the EHRs on the other end or the standards in place, because we're going to be doing all of that data mapping on the client side where that variation exists. So at this point, you might be asking yourself, what makes this different? There's certainly a number of other groups that are kind of playing around in this integration space, and you might also be wondering what the benefit of Redox is when you could go and build out these individual point-to-point connections yourself. One of our biggest differentiators is absolutely going to be the Redox network. And I touched on this a little bit, but every time we go and connect to a healthcare organization for an application, that connection and the interfaces leveraged are completely reusable for that healthcare organization and any other application that wants to connect to that site via Redox. And so after we integrate an application at a new site, we might, a few months down the line, have another application with some different functionality that comes along and also has a contract in place with that same health system. And so what we're going to do is leverage the work that we've already done at that site for your benefit. Another differentiator is the ability to truly just code to us one single time. As I mentioned before, you only need to have your dev team code to our data models once, and we're providing you with that consistent API no matter what the data inputs might be on the other side. So let's say we have a scheduling application that wants to work with Redox, and their first site might be an Epic site using HL7 interfaces. So most commonly, to do that first integration with them, we're going to leverage the SIU HL7 feeds, route those through our engine, and consume them via our scheduling data model. And then site number 2 might be a Cerner site, and that site could be using a Fire package. Our scheduling data model is able to consume those Fire resources just as easily as they can consume that SIU HL7 message. So we are truly vendor and standards agnostic. So with all of your different health system sites, no matter what the EHR is there, no matter what data standard in place, whether that be HL7, Fire, CDA, XML, X12, really whatever it might be, or whatever standard is developed next that they might be using, we're essentially able to accommodate for all of that difference and standardize and normalize that data so that you'll be receiving it the same way every single time. And here, we've just got a quote from the lead developer at HealthWise. So the biggest reasons we switched to Redox from Mirth was the ongoing costs of customizing messages for each client. We had to invest a lot of specialized knowledge and dedicated developers just to handle Mirth. We are already doing REST APIs, so switching to Redox was a win-win. And just to kind of elaborate on that a little bit more, connecting to Redox is both going to reduce the technical lift on your end and on the health system end so that we're able to get your projects going live that much faster. What we've seen is that we really reduced your cost per connection by about 40%. If you were to go out and try to build your individual point-to-point connection, you'd typically be looking at about 145 hours to complete that. And additionally, none of that work is going to be reusable. So you're essentially starting from zero again once you're starting your next integration. However, if you're building with Redox, you're really only going to be looking at 25 hours of work on your end. And another really awesome thing about Redox is that as you continue to integrate with us, you're going to see that time shrink and shrink and shrink as we go on and take learnings from the previous integrations we've done with you. And over on the health system side, so we also cut mean time to integration by around 2/3. At a particular site, they kind of gave us these statistics that without Redox, they were typically looking at a 100-day timeline to go live versus with Redox, that was very significantly reduced to just 30 days. And this is something we've seen site after site. At health systems, it can be really tough to get resources assigned and to get projects pushed through. And so a lot of times groups really get slowed down, and integration timelines can end up even at 6, 12, 18 months. And by taking a lot of that technical lift off of the health system IT staff side, we're really able to get you in and out as quickly as possible and live as quickly as possible as well. So now you might be asking, all of that sounds great, but sort of what does that look like from a technical perspective? So I'll give you a little bit of a walkthrough. So just to give you a little bit of an example, I'm going to give you a little bit of a walkthrough of what this would look like with an appointment cancellation message. So over on the left-hand side, you can see the health system data center, and that's comprised of the EHR, the health systems interface engine, and any other on-premise systems that they might have. So that could be practice management systems, lab systems, radiology, oncology, etc. So an appointment cancellation message is generated by an EHR and then would travel through their interface engine before making it to Redox via a VPN. And a VPN is really just what we've seen most commonly, the preferred integration method with different health systems. So in our engine, we have our configuration library, and that's really a library of hundreds of different pre-built connectors to dozens of EHRs, standards, and workflow. And we're always going to be able to pull from that configuration library with every new integration that we do. So we're only going to have to go in and do the last 10% of customization work that would need to be done for that specific health system EHR instance. And that's one of the reasons we can definitely get you going a lot faster. So in our engine, we're going to ingest that incoming message and map to our canonical data models. In this example, we'd be mapping to our scheduling data model. Below the configuration library, you can see our Redox engine, and that really is the core of our platform. Our engine takes those messages, maps them to our API, processes API traffic, standardizes and normalizes data, and filters and routes messages as well. And in our engine, we're going to be doing all of that normalization and standardization as well. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with that in just a minute. And we also provide you with proactive alerts and monitoring should any issues come up as well. And over on the right side, you can see the application ecosystem, and that's comprised of a ton of different applications types that we work with: telehealth platforms, population health, coordination, analytics, etc., whatever it might be. What we've seen is these applications generally prefer to interact with our modern JSON-based API. We also have the option of working with Redox on Fire, our implementation of Fire as well. And for our example, you would receive the appointment cancellation message in JSON format via a secure HTTP connection. And one other thing I just wanted to call out was that all of our data models are bidirectional, so that can work in the opposite way as well, where an application might send a message to Redox in JSON, and from there, we translate that down to the preferred data specification of the health system that you might be working with. And just to touch briefly on some of the normalization that we do in our engines, you can kind of see on the bottom, on the x-axis, we have the different healthcare organizations' capabilities supporting event or query-based workflows. And on the y-axis, you can see an application's required communication method being either event or query as well. In certain instances, it's pretty straightforward. Like if an application has an event-based workflow and that's supported by the health system, we would use our PubSub model, where Redox translates HL7 into our JSON specification and posts it to an application's callback URL. Similarly, if your application is looking to query for information and that's supported by the health system, we would utilize our pass-through model. And in that model, applications query Redox, and Redox forms queries compliant with the source system's requirements and translates synchronous responses. The situations where this gets a little bit more interesting would be, say, if an application is looking to query information, but the healthcare organization capability can only support events. In that case, we're going to utilize our data chateau to enable that application to query. So Redox receives and standardizes the messages to be stored off in data chateau and makes them available for query that way. And conversely, if an application needs has like an event-based workflow, and the healthcare organization only supports query information, then we're going to use some of our engine's polling functionality. And in that case, Redox queries the source system at a given interval to identify new data, and responses are then posted to the application's callback URL. And kind of just to call out, what's really critical in understanding what makes Redox unique is understanding that we are so much more in addition to our technology. We really map that technology in a fully managed service. And so we're going to be doing the work, scoping out your application project, working with you to do that integration and implementation. We have 24/7 on-call engineers, proactive monitoring alerts, and tier 1 support. So we're going to be taking a great deal of that technical lift off of your end. In our engine, we're doing interface mappings, issue resolution. We can also support you through EHR upgrades. So if your health system is changing their EHR or upgrading to a new version or something like that, we can support you through that transition. We also do workflow optimization, VPN heartbeat monitoring, certification management, and automated message retriggers as well. Also, the Redox platform is HIPAA compliant, SOC 2 Type 2 certified, and HITRUST certified as well. Ensuring that patient health information is safe and secure is absolutely of utmost importance to us. In addition to these certifications, we have multiple different third parties who do penetration testing with us as well. If you're ever interested, we can definitely share with you our security overview as well. But yeah, it's always great to know that parties know that our platform is trusted and is secure. And just to give you a few different statistics about Redox and Redox today. So Redox was founded in 2014 in Madison, Wisconsin. Currently, we have around 65 different employees. And I would say most of our employees either come from the startup world or from the EHR vendor world. And we also have employees who have sat on standards bodies as well. So with all of those employees together, we're really bringing you like over 100 years of EHR experience. We've had 300% year-over-year revenue growth. Like I mentioned earlier, we've connected to around 550 different enterprise healthcare applications, and we've integrated across 250 health system sites. Also, this year, we were recognized as a Gartner Cool Vendor, one other thing we're really excited about, through which we were recognized as a novel way to exchange healthcare data. So yeah, that reaches the closing of my presentation. Redox really exists to make healthcare useful. We're really excited about all the gains we see possible in the industry with all of these groups creating all of these different innovative solutions. And we really want to take part in that by reducing the barrier to entry so that you can bring your solution to market and scale your solution the way that you would want to. If you would ever like to speak one-on-one with a member of our solutions team, you can go ahead and click on that Calendly link below. Also, if you'd be interested in just diving deeper into some of our documentation around our API, you can go to developer.redoxengine.com as well. And I am going to hop over. One moment. All right, and I'm just going to check in and see if we have any questions as well. Do you have a full list of all the applications? I would have to touch base with some members of our team to get that list your way. I would recommend clicking on that schedule one-on-one with Redox button, and then we can follow up with you there. All right. Yeah, it looks like that was all of the questions we have today. Again, definitely feel free to click that schedule one-on-one with Redox button. We'd be more than happy to touch base with you and discuss your specific integration needs and your sites where you integrate. Thank you all for spending your lunch break with me. Really appreciate it.